Hello everybody, welcome back to another Reddit video. Sorry it's been so long, it's just I've been busy with schoolwork, I have football starting, and it's been a relaxation and pattern after a long and wintry February. If we run it back a little bit, in the start of February and late January, we had an Arctic vortex that dropped down from Canada and sat over the Midwest with unrelentless cold. There were multiple storm systems that ran up the East Coast, bringing snow all over the country. Even southern Texas saw snow, which they rarely see that, all the way into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even as far south and possibly in parts of eastern Mexico, which again, that rarely happens. But we had such a cold Arctic air mass draining all the Arctic air. It was just incredibly cold. What I've been saying to my friends and family is you can't have these years where you go on for multiple years, at least in the eastern part of the US, of just straight up warm and no winter storms. Because if that happens, you will probably see what happens here, in my opinion. It all comes out at once, and this is what happened in February. But now we're still in a relaxation pattern. It doesn't look like any major storms in the foreseeable future. You have a couple cold shots that try to come down, but they're not long lasting because you have a positive Arctic oscillation, which finally went positive after all this year has been negative, and also the positive NAO and negative PNA, which means there is no ridge out here, causing the upper jet stream to dip down in the eastern part of the US. If we continue on to the outlook for the rest of the week, you can see by Sunday you still have this cold air sitting around that brings down another shot of cold air. This may bring lower 40s, higher 30s for parts of Long Island, southern Connecticut, southern Rhode Island, and parts of southern Massachusetts. And as you go more north, obviously, it will get even colder than that. By Monday afternoon, the cold front starts to pull out because you have a high pressure system forming back down by Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and it should be around this area. It may be over here, depending on the positioning of the high pressure, but then again, you will have a ridge that sets up down here, causing a nice return of 60s and 50s in parts of the eastern part of the US. If we continue on to Tuesday and Wednesday, you can see that high pressure starts to form off just north and east of Bermuda. This is what we like to call the Bermuda High. This will prevent any cold air from coming down for a couple days, and you will also have a negative PNA, which again, what means you will have no high pressure out here, which allows the jet stream to dip down and then raise all the way back up, and then the opposite occurs in the eastern part of the US. If we continue on here, all the way out to Thursday and Friday, you have, once again, your high pressure is still here. It's just north and east of Bermuda. Excuse me. Over here was north and west. I'm sorry about that, but it is north and east of Bermuda now. You do still, once again, have your high pressure system that's preventing any cold air from coming down, and you may have, depending on the track of the system, a nice winter storm for parts of Michigan, Wisconsin, but you don't have that much cold air to work with. In northern parts of Canada, you can see there's lots of cold air. So if this does end up running into Canada like this, you have a pretty big snowstorm for parts of Canada. But this, again, is 180 hours out. This could change. And as you can see, northern Maine and points north will have a nice snowstorm. Once again, you do have your high pressure system preventing any cold air from coming down into the east. But then you finally see the deterioration of that high pressure system, and it's all out cold air coming down in parts of central and eastern part of the US. We'll see if this actually verifies if we go on to Canadian, which is also 240 hours out, is completely different. You can see you have once again another low pressure system running straight up into the Midwest because you do have your your high pressure out over Bermuda this time, preventing any cold air from dipping down. And if we switch to the icon, which I don't think it's far enough out, it's only 120 hours out, you could see that the high pressure system is in northern Florida, southern Georgia. And if we go to the European all the way out to hour 240, it actually somewhat agrees with the GFS here. If we go to the height anomalies, you can see that you do have your cold air all the way down from Southern California all the way up into New York and Maine and into Nova Scotia. But you can still clearly see there is a high pressure system just sitting off the coast of Bermuda. No, not just off the coast, but in between the US and Bermuda here, just by telling by the temperature anomalies here. But it looks like the GFS and the Euro are in somewhat agreement that that high pressure system would deteriorate in some way, but it all depends how it deteriorates. Will it deteriorate fast enough to where this could possibly happen, which I doubt because it is so far out, or will it won't really deteriorate, which with the Canadians showing, it's just going to sit over Bermuda and we'll have a nice 60s and 50-degree weathers for until March 14th, or even beyond that. Once again, that is way too far out, but if we continue looking on, you can see the GFS actually wants to return winter for parts of the US. You can see, look at this. This is more Arctic air coming down from Canada and Alaska coming straight down into parts of the US. You can see there's a little high pressure system for your storm here, but once again, this is even further out and you really can't trust these models this far out. Because if you go back one model run, you could see it's really different here. Your storm's all the way just north of Maine. Now it's just sitting just north of Boston. And if we go back one more run, the cold air is north of New York City. But now's run, it's all the way down into South Carolina. Just a quick few updates from the National Weather Service. They moved their start of the hurricane season out to May 15th now, which it was actually later than this. It was sometime around June 1st. I don't know the exact date. But they moved it even earlier because they have realized storms have been forming earlier and earlier than years past, and now they moved it earlier. And one other thing from Joe Bastardi, you could see how bad these climate models are. This is what was predicted from when the Arctic invasion came down from into the US. You can see this is where your Arctic vortex was. It was just sitting north of, let's say, North Dakota, so where they wouldn't be getting too cold. But what actually happened was they got brutal cold all the way down into parts of Texas, where you can see it's in this dark blue, light green, whereas parts of Texas was supposed to see above average temperatures. And at least from what I can tell, not one part of Texas got above average temperatures. It was maybe normal across southern, southwestern Texas, but otherwise from that, it was way overdone on the warmth, especially along the East Coast over here. You could see South Carolina was actually normal or just below average. Same thing with Long Island, all of Pennsylvania. It just, these climate models have not been good. That is very clear. And this Arctic vortex proved that. Once again, sorry for the late upload after 3 weeks. I'm sorry about that. But everybody have a great day and stay tuned.